Sam Darley here, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Houston Astros. The Houston Rockets season came to an embarrassing end Thursday night. And talking about the Spurs Warriors that's currently going on. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. And I'm also going to tell you why Daryl Morey should be fired from the Houston Rockets. I'm going to actually start off with those Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets got demolished 114-75. In an elimination game in their own building. James Harden was awful. In fact, he was so awful, he looked like he quit on the team. They looked like the whole team quit. They played terrible defense. Once again, Mike D'Antoni proves once again he cannot beat Greg Popovich in a playoff series. And why should Daryl Morey be fired? Well, for all you Rocket fans and all you Morey lovers, Daryl Morey in the regular season since 2008, which was his first year. He's been here for 9 years. Next year will be his 10th season with the Rockets. The Rockets are 478 and 326. You also have to account for the Rockets 434 and 32 in a lockout season back in 2011-2012. Houston's only won 3 playoff series and lost 6 playoff series. So 9 playoff series, they've only won 3 and only reached the Western Conference Finals once. So for all that wheeling and dealing and all that maneuvering and all that analytics that Daryl Morey does, it hasn't led to anything. In fact, it's led to the Rockets are probably the most competitive team every year, which is, I guess that's what you could look at. The Rockets are always competitive. They've never been terrible, even in their rebuild years. But, the reality is he only got James Harden because the Thunder could no longer afford to pay Durant, Westbrook, and Harden all together. They had to part ways with 1 or 2 of those 3. And they ended up doing it. They ended up parting ways with both of them and Ibaka. So, Daryl Morey is not a great general manager. And he's not. He's completely overrated. And I said that. And I believe that the last 2 years, the Rockets got past the Clippers because, one, the Clippers suck. They choke. The Clippers are the Clippers. They are an accident waiting to happen in the playoffs. The Houston Rockets are, they played great coming back and winning that series down 3-1. But you forget it took Corey Brewer and Josh Smith turning into Ray Allen and Reggie Miller to just get back that series back to Houston for Game 7. That could have been a 4-2 demolition at the hands of the Clippers in Game 6. So, the Houston Rockets, once again, sorry, I'm taking a quick peek at the Western Conference Finals. The Houston Rockets came to an absolute embarrassing end. They didn't even compete. It wasn't they got beat because I picked the Spurs in 6. I knew the Spurs would beat them in 6. They're too big, they're too long, and they're too athletic for Houston. And they've got Popovich. I just knew the Spurs were going to beat the Houston Rockets. In fact, the Houston Rockets were actually a great test for those San Antonio Spurs because they're playing an identical team in the Western Conference Finals. The only difference between Houston and Golden State is Golden State has pure shooters and Kevin Durant, i.e. the Splash Brothers. Kevin Durant. But back to Houston for a second. Houston did not compete. Game 6 was absolutely an abomination and embarrassment to professional sports. That Game 6 was terrible. And James Harden, who was an MVP candidate, basically destroyed his whole case in one night. Had he played balls out, had he balled out and put up a triple-double, or hell, when he's facilitating and getting everybody involved and getting everybody in rhythm, the Rockets are almost unbeatable. That's been the case all season long. When he's trying to do it himself, like he was in Game 6, the Rockets are actually below 500 team. So, and he didn't facilitate. He didn't make anyone better. And my God, he had 6 turnovers in the first quarter. He had 3 in overtime in Game 4. So the Rockets' best player was god-awful the final 2 games of that series. And then, Game 5, not Game 4. Game 4, he was great Game 4. Game 5, he was awful at the end. The Rockets blew a 5-point lead with 2 minutes to go. That game should have been Houston's. And I think a lot of people will say, well, San Antonio took the life out of Houston in that game. That's still no excuse to not come back to Houston and rebound in front of your home fans. By the way, just quick score update: the Astros playing a doubleheader in the Bronx. They're now 5-4 over the Yankees in Game 1. Tonight is Game 2. Jersey's been retired, but I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Houston Rockets have only 3 playoff series wins in Daryl Morey's 8 years, 9 years. It'll be his 10th year next year. If Daryl Morey does not get another big or another star to go next to James Harden, he needs to be fired. He does. If Rick Smith was doing all this, I mean, Rick Smith's regular season record, well, the Texans' regular season record is probably not quite as amazing as the Rockets. The Rockets are 478 at 326, and maybe my math is a little wrong. I don't think so. No, I used the calculator. Sorry to admit that a lot, but it's true. The Rockets play great in the regular season. What it shows is they're great in the regular season, but on the biggest stages, Daryl Morey's teams are not built to win. They're not built to win in the playoffs. They're 29-35 in the playoffs. They've only won 3 playoff series. They beat the Blazers, they beat the Thunder, and they beat the Mavericks. Those are the 3 playoff series wins. Oh, they beat the Clippers, so I'm sorry, that's 4. 4 series wins in 9 tries. And they've only been to 1 Western Conference Finals. For all that wheeling and dealing, nothing. Not a whole lot comes out of it. And I think it's time for a change. It's time for the Rockets to be honest with themselves. It's what is James Harden really a player you want to build your franchise around? Because that Game 6, I am sorry to tell you this, that is not a guy I would build my team around at all. That was an elimination game in his building, and he flat out didn't show up. He didn't try hard. He didn't play defense. And he didn't do anything to help the Rockets' case against San Antonio. Speaking of the Spurs, they're playing the Golden State Warriors. I'm picking the Spurs in 6, just like I did against Houston. They're playing exactly the same type of team, only they don't have home court advantage. But it's Greg Popovich. He'll figure out the Golden State Warriors. Golden State's currently losing 48-32 in the first half. I know the Golden State's probably a little rusty. Golden State's probably a little rusty from sweeping the Jazz. But this isn't Utah. This is a far more experienced San Antonio team. A San Antonio team that I think is too big for them. Should be able to dominate the boards. And this is a series, I think if the Spurs bigs dominate, I think they're going to win the series. And I think this is a series of Gasol and Aldridge where these guys need to take over, and they need to be that dominant force. If they're that, then I don't think Golden State has much of a chance. Although Golden State shooting is really what keeps them. Curry just knocked down a 3. Golden State, to me, it's going to have to be like Houston. It's going to have to be like what the Rockets. It's going to be similar to what the Rockets had to do to win that series, which is spread San Antonio out and get them to play small. That'll be interesting to see. So it's going to be a good series. I mean, last year, we all thought it was going to be Spurs-Warriors Conference Finals, as Ginobili knocks down a layup, 52-35. I definitely think Pop is a lot smarter than any other coach in the league. And he proved that against Houston. He's proved that time and time again. In the preseason, I thought it would be Spurs-Cavs. Sticking to it. Tomorrow night is Game 7 of the Celtics-Wizards. I'm taking the Celtics. The home team has dominated that series, even in the regular season. The Wizards, they've been such an enigma on the road. And, they've looked pretty good in games 1 and 2 at Boston, but Game 5 they were awful, and then they came out better in Game 6. So it's you don't know what team you're gonna get with Washington. Plus, it's Boston on the home court. Isaiah Thomas, big time player. So I think the Celtics will close it out and will take on the Cavs. It doesn't matter either way. I think LeBron's gonna win. I think the Cavs are gonna win either 5 or 6. If it's the Celtics, it'll be Cavs in 5. If it's the Wizards, I think the Cavs will take it 6. I feel like the more competitive series though would be Cleveland and Washington because I feel like Washington has a little bit more firepower and they're very good at home. But that's just me. I mean, Boston's a pretty feisty team, so I guess we'll see what happens. It's now a 20-point game, and you know, I believed all season long you gotta have size. Size matters. Spurs winning by 20. Golden State's got the firepower to get back into the game, but it's the first one to 4 wins, right? Ginobili will shoot the three. Nope. See, again, I think San Antonio's bigs are going to be the difference in the series. Golden State doesn't have enough size to beat San Antonio, and the Spurs are very patient offensively. They play very much like Utah, but Utah doesn't have quite the length and the athleticism, and they certainly don't have the star power like San Antonio has it. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of the Astros are winning in New York game 1 of the doubleheader. They play game 2 tonight. Charlie Morton takes the ball, and Derek Jeter's for the Astros against the Yankees. Derek Jeter's retirement jersey tonight. So that'll be a big emotional game for the Yankees. Like I said, it's a doubleheader. They got rained out yesterday. Hopefully the weather will hold up, and we'll get this game through. The Astros are currently dominating the American League West. I said if they were healthy, I think they would. I felt like this is a division the Astros should really take. But the Texas Rangers, I'm not underestimating them. They're not winning the one-run games that they won last year, but they can. It's a long season. It really is, but a good start can really propel you. Like the Astros a couple of years ago, they got off to a great start. They had a bad second half, but because of that great start, they got to the playoffs through the wild card. So, but we'll see what happens. This has been Sam Darley. Thank you for watching.